Welcome to Avondale Sky Winery.
This is a story of risk, passion, and family. A story about rural life and community. A story about adapting to survive and learning to thrive. If you love wine, business, and the thrill of new ventures, then sit back and enjoy Avondale Sky Winery. This week we join the team as we tour the art of winemaking and embrace the ups and downs of agriculture. Carl Catino is one of the co-owners of Avondale Sky Winery. Right now it's harvest, and the whole place is a hive of activity.
We're around the side here of the winery, and we're going to go to the crush pad. It's quite a cool spot. It's a busy time of year here during harvest. So crush pad is exactly what it sounds like. It is where grapes get crushed, where grapes come to die and wine is born. So it's pretty cool to see it firsthand.
The mountains of different coloured grapes are waiting for their turn in the next step of the winemaking process.
We're passing some bins here of grapes. You'll see a few different ones. This is Marichal Foch. So this is a red grape that would go in our notorious RED. And we've got, I believe this is some Vidal grapes. So these are actually from another vineyard that is brought here. So we buy grapes from probably 4 or 5 different vineyards in Nova Scotia. So it's still Nova Scotia grapes. But it helps supplement the harvest that we have here. And also, even though we're a small province, you can actually get very different growing conditions and climates that can lead to different quality of grapes. So it's kind of nice to get a bit of a blend of, even if it's the same type of grape, you might get a higher sugar content, which is your Brix content. I'll take you over here. This is the actual destemmer. It's a cool thing to see in action. So you'll actually Ben with the forklift will dump the grapes into the destemmer. All the stems will get spit out into that bin. The grapes get pumped out right into the grape press, which I can take you over and show you that. So you can see this is all ready. It's not in use yet, but you will see it soon enough, and the hose will actually pump the grapes right into this press, skins and all.
If you've never seen a grape press, it's a unique contraption.
It's got, obviously it's got a little bit of a grate to it, so the juice can get out, but not the skins. It would look like what I would view as like a torpedo or something like that. And it also has an eerie way, looks like a metal coffin. But yeah, it's got like the big bladder inside is obviously it's inflatable, almost like a big balloon that you put air pressure and it will actually squeeze. And it's got, 6 different metal lids on it here. You can hear, and then those get locked with a beam, so nothing is getting out except juice, and then there's a crank that'll obviously help rotate it. But I don't know that I can compare this to any other thing I've seen in my life otherwise.
Amongst the hustle and bustle of the machines, a key team member is in his element, winemaker Ben.
And this is Ben. Ben Swettenham, our winemaker here at Avondale Sky.
Hello. Well, right now we're just getting everything set up to crush and press some Vidal grapes that we received late last night. Press all the juice out, and then, cold settle the juice overnight so that little bits of skins and seeds or whatever that gets through settles out. It wouldn't make very good wine if you just started fermenting it right away. So you take the nice, clear, clean juice right off the top.
Ben has a relaxed nature, but honestly, this is crunch time for the whole operation.
This will be our biggest day, I think, of the harvest. We've got 8 tons to process today, which by some wineries, would consider a morning's work. But for us, it'll be all day. We're pretty small. Quite frankly, just the grapes won't wait. You can't keep them. Once they're off, you gotta deal with them right away. And this is the one chance a year I get to get it right. So don't want to shortchange all the work that everybody put into growing those grapes by not getting at it.
And just like the Catino family, wine for Ben is more than just a job.
It's really nice to make something like wine that so many people around the world enjoy. I think it's something that brings people together around a table too. It's one of those things, it promotes conversation and good times, and I think it's it's a special industry to be in.
Once the press has crushed the grapes, its next stop will be one of the many tanks.
forgive all the background noise as the machinery's going. I can take you through. It's definitely tight quarters. If you want to take a step, just watch your step around the hoses. So there's lots of hoses and fans and chillers and extension cords and this is Maria. Maria was just cleaning a tank, God love her. So that's where the wine's going to be ending up today. So from the press that we saw, that hose is fed right into where that tank's going to be, and that's where that wine, that Vidal grapes, will sit until we're ready to actually either blend it into some wines like Tidal Bay or make it into a wine like Nirvana or something like that. Interestingly enough, Vidal, that grape is also the grape that would be used for ice wine if the conditions were right. These are stainless steel tanks, and they're all, some of them, they look the same when you're close, but they're all actually different sizes. You can see right on here the year that they were made, where they came from, what their capacity is. This is our biggest tank, aptly named Biggie. As I said, named after some rappers. You Little Kim right beside him, just like they do in Brooklyn. And yeah, so it's tight, but it's well managed, and Ben definitely keeps a good handle on it, keeps it very sanitary. But it's, yeah, you if you're claustrophobic, this might not be your favorite place to be.
Oh, I'm just filling up a jug to put some cleaning solution in to clean out these tanks. This time of year, it's all cleaning and logistics management.
And choosing the right tank for the right batch is always a big gamble.
It's something like harvest. The challenge you're dealing with is, one, you're getting grapes. Okay, well, how much is that actually going to equate to in juice? And it's not like, oh, okay, we're near the top. Like, do we have enough room or not? Because where's that juice going to go? It's going to go on the ground, and we're wasting it, right? So Ben's got to do a really tough job of estimating how much, and you also don't want to waste space. Like, you don't want a tank filled to, an example, 60% full, and now what do we do with the other 40%? Maybe that could have all fit into a smaller tank. So it's a bit of a juggling act, but it's also then what wines are you going to make from these grapes? Because you can't just put them all into one tank, because you're going to, end up with a big mixed bag.
For Ben, there are a lot of mysteries around this process that he's eager to educate visitors about.
One of the sort of simplest things that most people don't realize is just the process for white and rosé versus the process for red is completely different. And I think a lot of people just think that everything is you just press the juice out and ferment it, but with reds you ferment the whole berry. And so it's a totally different process to whites and rosés, and I don't think many people realize that. I think the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is we don't add water to the wine. It's just grape juice. A lot of people, especially if they're home winemakers doing stuff from kits, there's a lot of concentrate and rehydrating and that kind of thing. And in professional winemaking, it's just grape juice.
And while the team use a wide variety of Nova Scotia grapes, the winery's location has significance.
It's a beautiful location, a beautiful part of the province. I think it's a special little spot here between the three rivers, and the vineyard's really interesting from a soils point of view, and the climate is very unique with the tidal influence from the Kennecook, St. Croix, and the Avon rivers. So it's just kind of a special little spot.
So you'll see now Ben's actually got the tote up on the forklift, just so you can appreciate what we're seeing here. And from Maria's vantage point, it's sometimes really scary. You can see the juice coming out of this. Now, what's different about this is these are machine-picked grapes, okay? So at our vineyard, we do all hand-picked grapes. So if this was a bucket of our grapes, it would be all grapes. But because this is machine-picked, a lot of it, this came from another vineyard in Nova Scotia. A lot of it does get pressed early, and that was Ben's point. We don't have time to let it sit around in a bin. It will go bad. So we got to get it pumped, properly filtered, and then into a tank, and allow the wine making process to begin. And then this is go time. It's like we're pressing it. If it's ready to go, this is the first step, or I guess the first step of the winemaking process now that the vineyard process is done.
While these grapes are waiting to be crushed, there are still thousands sat in neat rows waiting to be picked. And it's not just grape pickers waiting to get their hands on them.
One thing we'll watch out for, is there is an electric fence that's up right now, so we'll make sure to stay away from that. It could be on. Raccoons this time of year and other wildlife love to get in and get as much grapes as they can, and they do it quick, believe it or not. And the bigger fence around the outside is to keep larger wildlife like deer out. And when we first bought this business, there was no fence, and we actually were losing a lot of grapes to wildlife, especially deer. And what they do is they'll get in there and eat the shoots to the point that the grapes don't even grow.
For vineyard manager Pete, it can be a spectacle.
Well, my name is Peter Smits, and I'm the vineyard manager at Avondale Sky Winery here. The raccoons they're just non-stop. They just, if they get in, they will completely strip a section bare in a very short amount of time. And they're just little processing machines, just in one end and out the other. And they're terrible. We've got an electric fence that covers the whole area around the vineyard, and it does keep them out. But even then, they constantly test it. They go up to the fence and see if it's working, and it normally is, so they get shocked and run away, and then a few hours later come back to a different section and test the fence and see if it's working and get shocked and run away. So you've got to be always on guard. They never really learn their lesson and sort of wait around and say, well, maybe 2 hours later the fence won't be off. And the deer, we used to have a problem with them, but we did put up this great big high deer fence around here, so it keeps them away. So they were a major problem in the spring, coming and nibbling our young shoots of the vines as they were emerging out of dormancy from the winter. But now that has been taken care of, and everything can grow to its full potential out here.
In here we've got 23 acres of vines, 15 or so varietals of grapes that we grow ourselves. The actual property is 109 acres, so there's a lot of land that's not used for grape growing, but at the same time, you know, you see this and you think, oh my God, we got to pick all these grapes with our hands, and it can be daunting, but we have an amazing crew. We've got volunteers here as well that come out to help us pick the grapes, and it's about 6 weeks of picking. You can see some of the lackady here.
The picturesque vineyards are a place anyone would want to enjoy spending time. It's why people volunteer every year to come and pick.
I think some people, we'll ask through the year, if they're interested in volunteering, and many people want to do it just for half a day or a day, experience it. It's very peaceful. You can put your, music on, or you can just zen out yourself and meditate while you're doing it. It's quite peaceful. There's been a lot of times when my wife and I are doing it, she'll come up to me and she'll say, can you get the song I Heard It Through the Grapevine out of your head? And so it's just like those things, you're singing to yourself, you're talking to yourself. And then we start saying, is that where the phrase I heard it through the grapevine came from? Because sometimes you can't see the person on the other side of the vine because there's so many leaves, but you're still having a conversation. We'll go out and see the pickers.
The sounds of happy grape pickers travel.
We're just picking some Marshall Foch grapes and just having a good day at it. Jeez, it's been pretty good. Going down the line here, It's good for the community. We're just kind of helping the vineyard out, picking some grapes, and hopefully this is a good help for them.
Our business offered us to go out for the day and try it out, and thought it was a neat experience. Just to see the vineyards and the beautiful, and seeing the starting point and everything.
The joy, being out in the fresh air, helping the community, it's a great experience and learning a lot. It's giving back to our community and supporting local communities thrive. And right now, as far as I'm understanding, is that the wineries are hurting for helpers. So definitely get out there, help out your local winery, and give back.
I come every harvest. I've been coming for about 6 years now. I like being out with different people, with the fresh air, moving, being active. Yeah, the people are great too. I think it's a huge bonus for anybody coming into something like this to see where it starts, how it ends, that glass of wine at the bottom, but to be out and be active is so beneficial in itself.
And while the volunteers are an important part of picking, the vineyard has a roster of paid staff, many of whom live locally. Jamie's family have found employment here at the vineyard.
Well, my family roots can probably be traced straight back to the shipbuilding days back here in this particular area, but we've been my physical family, as in my mom and dad, we bought land here in the early 70s. There's other family members that have been around for a lot longer than that in this area, but I grew up through here, playing in the woods and everything all through here.
And like Jamie, at one stage we had 4 generations. He brought his sons and his grandchildren, and of course his dad was working at the same time. So yeah, it was nice to see the whole family. So it's not only us, but it's their family. It's great to see the family farm as it should be.
And the continued growth of the Nova Scotian wine industry has seen rural communities thrive.
It is an interesting swing in the way everything kind of, I don't even want to say really come full circle, because nobody's building ships anymore, but just the simple fact that after the flood of people from the shipbuilding went down, nothing else disappeared. People just kind of remained and kept plugging away every day and became into a great farming community. My wife had started here first, and I would just kind of come in occasionally to help them when they needed it. And then when the opportunity came on full time, I hopped at it. I mean, 2 minutes down the road, I don't have to travel. I could literally walk here in less than a half an hour if I needed to be here. It's really nice being home, close to home.
It really warms my heart, not to sound sappy about it, but it's pretty cool, like, to be able to know that you're employing people in a rural community in Nova Scotia, when there's, lots of other people that are maybe looking for work or out of work. And to me, I think that's great. And obviously, we're trying to all make a living at it as well. But at the end of the day, you get to know these people and they become like an extended part of your family.
And for vineyard manager Pete, this kind of employment offers a great quality of life.
Well, this will be my 16th year, I think, of picking grapes here and looking after vineyards. So at this winery, I've been here 6 years now. I mean, the weather's quite nice out here, and it's we get fresh air every day, and we get to experience green all around us, which is, I think that's the only way to live, really. Got to have green and a beautiful place around you, and it keeps you in a healthy sort of frame of mind, as well as your body healthy too. So a successful harvest really caps everything off. We love pulling off bins and bins of beautiful looking grapes at the end of the season, because up until then, that has been the entire goal, is to keep those ones alive. And once it's done, it's such a huge relief.
And while life in the agricultural world can offer amazing lifestyles, no amount of planning or investment can control the weather.
Every year is a challenge, but you have no idea what that challenge is going to be when the year starts. Every year there's a completely different weather phenomenon which comes along and alters our plans midway through, and we have to all of a sudden take a new direction.
Sean and the rest of the family knew this was a factor from the start.
Agriculture is definitely the biggest risk in our business, and we knew right away when we were buying the business how 2018 affected the wine industry. So 2018 was the year Nova Scotia had a really late frost, so I believe it was June 4th or June 5th, and so the buds had already broken, or the buds were out on the vines, and the frost killed them, and so we lost that year 86% of our crop that year, and most wineries did, and it was that was across the board with most farming, I guess, not just grapes. And it was a year that we were allowed to reach out to Ontario to get a lot of wine, and I think even for our Tidal Bay, which is generally has to be 100% Nova Scotian grapes and all that kind of stuff. It's 100% Nova Scotian wine. But that was the year, since we all lost so much, roughly 90% of our crops. What can you do, right? So there was an exception that year. And so we knew getting into the business that 2018 had such a terrible year, and that's not something you can really mitigate. There's only so much you can do. You can buy super expensive equipment, but this is supposed to be the frost that only happens once every 70 years or so, and you knock on wood and hope for the best. But yeah, there's that, and then 2019 was slow to recover. So those grapes they took a hit, and the vines are hurting also. So 2019 was still just a recovery year.
Luckily, since they took ownership, the seasons have been more than kind.
Our 2020 vintage, our first harvest with the winery, was beautiful. The summer was hot, dry, and we have a lot of old vines, so some of the oldest vines in Nova Scotia. And those old vines, they have really deep roots. So if it's hot and dry, it's okay. Those vines will survive and dig deeper. They'll find their water. So yeah, it was a great harvest 2020. But this year was definitely a little tougher. It's getting a little bit more to what the risk management that you can't really manage, Mother Nature herself. So yeah, it was a wet year, wet July. We had a couple of hailstorms that were, I think, 5 days apart or not even. So that rips through the canopy, so the leaves, and those are your solar panels that will help ripen the grapes. So yeah, we did have a lot of humidity, a lot of damage from the hail, and even the berries had little chunks taken out of them, and that can be a place for rot to happen. So once they're exposed to the elements, then bugs will try to get at it, all that kind of stuff. Birds will smell a little easier, raccoons, virtually everything. Nature will get to it when it's exposed like that. And so sour rot can set in and all those kind of things. Luckily, it was a bumper crop of a year, and I think that's in general for most agriculture. So if you looked at an apple tree this year, it was just full. So the thing about grapes, though, they're tight clusters, so you did have a little bit more disease because you need that airflow around it. But thankfully, since it was a bumper crop, a little bit of a bigger year, we can cut that out, save the quality, but still have enough to produce. So at the end of the day, we had a really high quality harvest again this year. So.
For Sean and Mallory, living in a vineyard is a totally new take on life.
We get to look over the vines. Literally, my bedroom window looks over virtually all 27 acres of vines out there. So it's a absolutely beautiful view. But business never sleeps anyways. But when you live there, it's at your door. I like it. Obviously, the commute to work's not so bad. I'm always been a night person, not so much a morning person. So having a quick 20-second walk to work is still is a benefit for a guy like me. But it's enjoyable, and we have, my girlfriend and I have a puppy now, and Vino, and he loves the land, so he has all the land in the world to run around for.
We're really lucky to live there. Around the vineyard, there's also some community trails, so they're sort of just like hiking trails through the woods. If you do all three of them, it's a 5K hike. And I never get sick of them. I want to be there every single day of my life with my dog, obviously. So that's been the best part for me, is to walk out of my front door and be able to go on a hike. I don't think many people, usually you think of driving to a hike, right? And packing up whatever you need for the day to go on your hike that you're going to drive to. And I get to walk out the door and go on a little hike with my dog. And you can make your own hikes just going through the vineyard, 'cause it's about, it's a 2-kilometer radius of vines. And it's just awesome to have that much space and that much nature. And then, of course, watching the vines change through the seasons is so cool. It just goes from being kind of totally brown and gray to being so lush and green so quickly. And yeah, it's just awesome to just check on the vines week to week and see how they're doing.
In the next episode, the Avondale Sky team get to test all they've learned with an exclusive event.
The 12th will be our first actual official grand reopening pickup party.
Oh, like we've tried. We've worked within the rules to have events, but none like this.
If you'd like to know more about Avondale Sky Winery, visit avondalesky.com or search Avondale Sky on social media platforms.
This has been a Podstarter production.